Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. Are you prepared for the future? Now, you might say, Steve, that's what we prepare for crying out loud, right? That's what we prepare for, an uncertain future. Well, let me ask you this. Are you prepared for the real future? Okay. And what do I mean by that? I'll get to that in just half a second. First off, welcome to everybody. Welcome to all the new people. Want to say a couple of things here. I've noticed that when I check comments, there are a lot being caught in the filters because people are maybe wrong punctuation. The filters pick it up as a link, okay, and so they're not getting up there, and I don't see your comments. Or other places have put in hashtags, and the filters won't allow that through. I set it that way just so I won't, this comment section won't be a whole bunch of that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of good comments out there, a lot of good comments. So if you are one of those who has had made a comment and said, well, where did my comment go? Did they take it off? Did Steve take it off? No, it wasn't purposeful. It was because of a typo or something like that. So be careful with that, because a lot of those comments I would have liked to have seen in time to answer them. A major announcement for those of you who have been asking. The entire Stonemont series is now available in Audible. That's right. Now available in Audible. Now, some of you know that I've been reading myself through the Stonemont series. We're about halfway through the revival, the second book, and I've been reading it myself on the Stonemont level of the Patreon channel. Okay, but now through Amazon, I was able to get the book. They did it last night. Put all six books of the Stonemont series. And if you're new to us, these are my books. I wrote them. The Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, An Appeal to Heaven, The Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune. These are now available on Audible through Amazon or Audible, the Audible channel, whatever it is. Okay, really cool. I mean, it's an AI voice reading them, but they do a pretty good job. I listened, I checked it before I gave the okay. They do a pretty good job. They don't give the inflections that I do necessarily, right? But then also they don't stumble over the same words that I do. Yes, I do occasionally stumble over a word. Just kind of depends on how much I've been talking, how much I've been reading, how much coffee I've had. Such as that. So those are now available. So many people have been asking, and now they're all available on Audible. I'm happy about that. So back to, are you really prepared for a future? Well, we prepare, as my books were about, a total collapse of everything, right? Everything comes down. In the case of my books, it's a CME. It's a global destroying CME, and it gives us the opportunity it gave me the opportunity to write and include a whole lot of good preparedness and survival lessons in the context of 6 novels. We're working on the 7th one now. And it's people have loved this series. They love to read. And it's important. So much of what I've taught, so much of what I've enjoyed learning ever since I was a kid has been about, survival and preparedness and rough living and how to do things the old way and really live a good life without all the modern conveniences, right? And that's what my books are about. There are plenty out there that were about how terrible things were and everything like that. And I wanted to show that you can live a good life, a very good life, a high quality life, even without all the modern conveniences, if you have prepared yourself to live separate from those external systems over which you have little or no control. Power generation, heat, lights, water, defense for yourself, shelter, and all that. And of course, that has been every prepper's goal and dream. And I think it's good because it's going to happen. It is going to happen. The collapse, whether it is cyber or a CME or an EMP or something like that, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to happen. The question is, when? When is it going to happen? Okay. Now, to that end, we have to consider what if it doesn't happen for a long time? Right? Okay, what am I getting at here? Well, I just put up on the Patreon channel the day's question, or how we start. Over on Patreon, we have a chat, a daily chat that runs all day, and I get it started. If you're not with us on Patreon, the link is down below. Come join us. You'll like it. You'll get a lot out of it. And I'll start off the day with a question or an observation or something like that, and then everybody can just talk about it throughout the day. Oh, by the way, I did just put up the 15th chapter of The Revival. I should have said that. The Revival, my second book. I just put up the 15th chapter of me reading it on the Stonemont level over there on Patreon. So today's question, and last night my son has been trying to talk me into buying a Tesla Cybertruck. And I have always been very resistant to EVs on a whole range of reasons, right? But I put the question up over there, and I said my son's trying to convince me to buy a Tesla Cybertruck, and said a few things about it, and we're having a great back and forth conversation about that. Some pros, some cons, some things like that. Well, I have always been resistant to more than resistant. I've always hated the idea of EVs, probably for the same reason you do. Okay, batteries made in China, the blah blah blah. They don't have the range. They can't tow. They can't do this. They can't do that. Well, my son spent about an hour last night. We were sitting here. He was doing some computer work for his own business. 17 years old. He's already got his own business. There's a lesson there. And so he took about an hour and explained to me, because I said, I don't like that. Old guy, right? He spent about an hour telling me about this Cybertruck, and it blew me away. I mean, I said, are you kidding? I mean, this thing has like 1,000 horsepower. It is it'll go 0 to 60 in 2-point-something seconds. It's almost indestructible, the stainless steel that it's made of. It's got impact-resistant glass. It's got a range of 340 miles. It's got a load capacity of 2,500 pounds. It's got I'm not trying to sell you on a Tesla. I'm just gonna knock a few things off here. It'll tow 11,000 pounds. All of those things are going to, bring down its range, but the same thing is true with a combustion engine. And on and on and on. I mean, he just kept talking to me. Now, here's somebody who has actually done the research. And I haven't, right? And I was just sitting here just dumbfounded with everything he was telling me. And it seemed like every couple of minutes I was going, you're kidding me, really? And so I got to thinking about it. And, of course, we've had, all the arguments, the making fun of the EVs and all that. I get it. I used to do it myself. But then I got to thinking, and then I left this comment over there in the chat. I said, if you went to my kids' school when they're dropping off or picking up the kids, you'd think that place was a Tesla dealership. There's so many Teslas over there. And you know what? They all love them. They all love them. Okay, now there's a couple of arguments here. Well, but when you have to replace the battery, it's going to cost you $9 million, right? Or what if you run out of, we've all seen the meme, the picture of a gas generator recharging an EV, right? Well, Tesla seems to be a company that's quite a bit different than the others trying to get into it. And I know all there. And what if the grid goes down? And what if this? And what if that? Well, there are all questions. There are answers to those. So often when somebody doesn't like something, they set up a straw man argument that sounds good, but there are answers to it. They ask the question as if there is no answer, right? And there are answers to it. And I didn't know that until my son educated me last night. Well, it made me, realize. It reminded me. Let me put it that way. It didn't make me realize, because I've known this, and I've talked about this before. But it reminded me of the importance of being prepared for every eventuality. Okay. We tend to prepare for when everything falls apart. What if everything doesn't fall apart? Okay, what if it just continues and our world continues, which it will, until the big one, continues to be more technologically advanced, and it's going to leave dinosaurs like me and maybe you in the dust. I don't know if we don't keep up on this stuff. I've always said you want to be able to survive and do well in whatever environment you find yourself in. And that environment may not be the one to where we all have to run to the mountains. It might be the one that it just keeps getting more and more technologically advanced with no interruption for a long time. Now, like I said, eventually I think it's all going to come tumbling down. But that may not be in the next 10 years, may not be in my lifetime or yours. It might be in our kids' lifetime or not. But, if we hold ourselves back as a result of our own prejudices from understanding and participating in the increasing technology, we're not going to do ourselves any favors. You remember what Rush Limbaugh used to say about, and we can go back to this too, everything, right now people are cracking on, the cell phones and the kids and their cell phones, and it's the end of the world and the end of society and all that. They said that about television, didn't they? Yeah. And they said that about radio. And I know right now somebody's saying, yeah, the world was better before that. No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. People lived in ignorance. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the world, but you know what? There is information out there in the world. And to be real honest, until radio started, most people lived in comparative ignorance about what was going on in the world, and so they were easily drug into to things like world wars, just because a government wanted them to. So I think that all of these, and then of course, like Rush used to say, what happened when the automobile was invented? It put all the buggy whip manufacturers out of business, right? But technology advanced, and there were some that said, I'd never have one of those horseless carriages. Horses are the way that God meant man to travel, and I'll never. These things are the work of the devil. Well, speaking of the work of the devil, there are some who will say, well, I'm not going to get an EV or anything, I'm not going to do whatever in technology because it's just bringing us closer to the mark of the beast. Well, I understand where they're coming from, but I'm not going to turn this into a biblical argument. But I am going to say this because I get so many comments that have to do with the end times and all that. And I think I'm going to do a sermon on the church channel about the end times and how many people misunderstand it. They've been led to believe something that just isn't supportable. Okay? And it's kind of a circuitous argument. Well, I've heard it, therefore I believe it, and I believe it, therefore I reinforce whatever I hear regarding it, right? I've said one of the greatest quotes I ever heard was in some TV show back in the 70s by Strother Martin. He played a drunk in some medical show. And he said how easy it is to be convinced by an argument we support. It's important, if you're really going to be prepared, if you're really going to advance in life, to stop supporting yourself with the same arguments that you have simply decided to accept, and to allow yourself to learn more. In the preparedness world, everybody's always, about learning more, right? We learn more skills, learn more of this, learn more of that. Well, the things that they don't like to do, usually what they mean is learn, how to live more like Little House on the Prairie. And that's good. Not only is it good, but it's a good way to live. I'm not saying that it's not. I love a simple life. People don't realize that. And they might not think so, because I don't necessarily live. Well, I do. I'm surrounded by a life that's not simple, but I keep my own life simple. And some of my happiest times in life were living with very little. And there's no difference between your happiness, if you live with little or live with abundance, as long as you keep yourself and your head straight, right? So where was I going with that? I don't. Oh, but so often, so we think about learning skills as if learning the old ways, right? Well, those are fun and those are useful. They're beneficial, and I think they help keep us tied down, to reality. But people tend not to, especially in the preparedness. And let me don't say that. The preparedness world is much larger than what you really see on many of the channels. Okay, and because I'm familiar and I deal with a lot of the preparedness spectrum, as you might imagine, writing preparedness books and having a preparedness business and all that. But they don't spend a lot of time, developing technological skills. And I'm as guilty as anyone, maybe guiltier. I may be more guilty than most, because I am kind of a hard head. I don't like technology. But but I understand the importance of it. And I will allow somebody to drag me into it, or kind of, I will learn. It's kind of like in your group, it's important, to have medical, right? Well, I'm very fortunate. We got great medical people in my circle of friends, I don't know all that, but I understand the importance of it. And when it comes to technology, I don't know all that. I said it the other day, I'm just now learning to use a Mac. And it is confusing the dickens out of me. And some of you are probably laughing because you're Mac people, right? Well, it doesn't, I'm learning slowly, old dogs and new tricks. We have people on here, and I tell you what, there's one of our people over on Patreon, Mike Hoskins. He is, you want to hear about technology? Mike will talk to you about, he's into all the AI and machine learning, but he also raises cattle, right? And they homeschool their kids. And he does everything across the spectrum. You see, what I'm saying is that preparedness needs to be complete. And in this sense, as complete a preparedness person as I am, I lack that. That is an area that I am sorely lacking. And as far as my own knowledge and abilities, thankfully, I have a son who's all into it, right? They can take care of it. But it would behoove us, just like, well, you may have good medical people on your team. You should still know basic life support, right? And basic first aid, and even maybe some advanced first aid. I think the same is true in this. And I think that people in the preparedness world, for the most part, not all, for the most part, are more resistant to technological advancement than most people, right? They simply are. And because I hear the comments, I don't like to do banking. I want to, and I'm a big believer in keeping cash. But how can I get on your Patreon? Can I send you a check because I will not have a debit card or a credit card? You see, that is keeping you from being able to access so many of the opportunities the modern world offers. And it's not hurting the world, it's not affecting the world for you not participating in it. It's negatively affecting you. The world has a lot of opportunities out there, and they are not all headed down the path of Mark of the Beast, okay? And which is people are not going to get into that. I would simply say to those people who feel that every bit of technology is the mark of the beast, it's the natural progression of a technological society, okay? Can it be used improperly? You bet it can. But that's one of the reasons that you need to be knowledgeable about it so that you can protect yourself. Okay? I mean, not doing it, saying that this technology is the danger is the same as saying guns are the danger. And I think most people here would disagree with that, right? No. Guns are not the danger, people are the danger, and how guns are used. And the same is true with technology. That we have so many life-saving developments because of technology. So many people come through life-threatening situations nowadays that would have killed them 50 years ago, 20 years ago, and now they're just right back into life with their family for another 20, 30 years. You see, it's not technology that's bad, it's how it's used that is bad by the wrong people, right? And so in order to be able to protect yourself against that, I think that it's incumbent on those people who really want to be full spectrum prepared. I know that there's a channel out there named something like that, isn't there? And I didn't mean to reference them. Either good or bad. There's no reference there at all. But somebody, and I use the word spectrum a lot because just to describe, there's people, minimally prepared and people maximally prepared. But I think it's an incumbent on anybody who wants to be fully prepared, not to push away the technology that is developing, but to try to understand it, to learn about it. As I said, I was totally against EVs yesterday afternoon. After an hour talking with my son, I have changed my mind. Open your mind, get outside the box, don't contain yourself within constraints that you have placed around yourself emotionally or as a result of your own ignorance, and I don't mean that badly. I was ignorant, okay, but I allowed myself to learn. And now I have a different opinion about it, simply as that. So anyway, you not only have to be prepared to be able to live well after a total collapse of everything, you need to give some thought to preparing to live in a world where it doesn't collapse but keeps advancing technologically. Because living like a hermit, maybe that's your thing, and I'm not putting anybody down who that is their thing. It could be a happy life, probably, I would imagine. Some people don't want to be involved in societies, and not everybody wants to live around a bunch of... I get it. Hey, whatever is your deal, you live your deal, right? But for those of you who do, don't want to run off and Jeremiah Johnson it, realize, just like everything else, it's your responsibility to learn those things that will help you survive in whatever environment comes about, and that may be it. Okay, again, if I've mentioned this, over on my books are available, all 6 of them, working on the 7th, yes. Cynthia over at Roots, Rocks, and Feathers was kind enough to mention my books in her video yesterday. She says she's making herself her way through the series for the 3rd time, I think. and still learning some things picked up. I've said that people have read through these 5 times and said, I'm still finding stuff that I missed the first 4 times, learning a lot from them. They're packed full of survival and preparedness information in a great story. You won't even realize you're learning because you'll be tied up in the story so much. And I say it is the complete plan for being able to prepare, survive, and rebuild after a total collapse of everything. You know, in the last books, I start to reintroduce technology in a couple of very interesting ways. I think the book that I'm working on now, number 7, contains most of that. But we see the lesson is you can't stop technology. You can't stop human ingenuity and creativity. You either learn to live with it and deal with it, or you're going to be left behind. Okay, so those are available. You can get them through Amazon. Amazon gets them to you quickly. Or you can get them through me directly through our website, stonemont.us. Stonemont.us. And you'll get them from me signed. And I love to do that. It takes me longer because I keep running out of books and everybody orders them. Thank you so much. And then I order more and I wait for them to get in and then I sign them and mail them out and all that. So those are available, Amazon or through our website, stonemont.us. The website, the links are down below. And also all of the mugs, the one that you see me drinking from here, Rebellion to Tyrants is Obedience to God, a whole bunch of others, and the latest one that has come out for integrative preparedness, Life is a Path. Each must walk their own, walk yours, and on the back, Why I Prepare. These are beautiful mugs, and you can find those on the stonemont.us website too. So you all, just keep that in mind. Think, what is it that you want to be prepared for? You know, just living rough? Or do you want to make sure you can live a good life, whatever the future may bring? What if the world doesn't collapse? It may not. Okay? All right. You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And do something today to learn just a little bit about something that you don't know. You'd be surprised. If you learn about something, your opinion might change. Okay. You all have a good day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.